Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Manufacturing Talks. I'm Jim Vinosky, your host. I'm really glad today to be joined by Dan Meyer. He is founder and CEO at Nehemiah Manufacturing in Cincinnati. Welcome, Dan.
Great to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. It's been a chore for us to connect up, I know, but glad it finally happened.
Yeah, it's awesome. Glad to be available to talk about what we're doing at Nehemiah. So thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
And for those who didn't read the article that I covered you in, a Forbes article about second chance hiring, that'll be a big topic. But before we jump into that, just why don't you tell the audience about who you are, what got you doing what you're doing today?
My name, as we said earlier, Dan Meyer, CEO, founder of Nehemiah. But I'm born and raised Cincinnati, and that's where Nehemiah resides. I have spent over 45 years in consumer packaged goods, marketing, sales, general management, and Nehemiah is my second startup. Predominantly in my corporate life was my first 15 years with Procter & Gamble, Quaker Oats, which was now PepsiCo, and Bristol-Myers Squibb, again in marketing, sales, and general management. In '94, I founded a company called Changing Paradigms, where we brought branded approach to private label in categories we knew from my branded days: household cleaners, drain care, specialty laundry, air care, and did that for 15 years. And along that journey, which is important to Nehemiah, about year 10 of that, connected with Procter & Gamble to take over smaller SKUs, launch brands to bigger brands like Draft laundry detergent. That's kind of how we got started. We went a Draft laundry stain remover and Draft dish and a few other things. And I sold that company in 2006. But along that journey, my faith has always guided me in my life. We would tithe as a company, as the good Lord blessed what we were doing as a company. We gave 10% of our profits to inner city ministries. And in '06, I had turned 50 and my kids were getting older and had all kind of my money on the table there. And the kids were going to college. I decided to sell, and I sold Changing Paradigms in 2006 and sold it to some venture guys. And I needed to stay 3 years. And during that 3 years, '06, '09, I was discerning with the Lord. What do I do next? How do I give back my talent, my time, and my treasure, everything all in at that stage of my life? My kids had grown, and I wanted to make a bigger impact. And that led to the founding of Nehemiah Manufacturing in '09. And so we celebrated 15 years as a company. It's hard to believe in October, but I like to say on Nehemiah, we knew the why of the company before the what and the how, and it's in the name Nehemiah. Nehemiah is an Old Testament prophet called by God to rebuild Jerusalem one stone, one brick at a time. And all I wanted to do was come in the inner city core and start a business in an area where it was really ugly. It was being gentrified by the city, and some key players said, if you start another company, Dan, it'd be great if you could bring it down in the inner city core and provide sustainable employment for those in need so they can live and walk to and from work instead of being pushed out of the community. So that was the genesis to come in the inner city core, build a business to help those in most need. Our mission was simple: building brands, creating jobs, changing lives. The what was my relationship. As I said, I started with Procter, taking over brands in 2001. So I had been doing that for a number of years at Changing Paradigms, and I knew the senior leadership, ask them, do you have anything? Told them what we were trying to do. Do you have a brand that you're ready to license? We'd love to take that over and get started. And they said, yes, we do. You're going to have to compete. But I said, fine, we're used to competing. And so that was the foundation. We founded the company with Pampers Can Do, a line of flushable wipes, personal care products for toddlers. Yep. And we always get these brands from Procter that are on their deathbeds, right? They're great products, but it was part of the Pampers portfolio, which is, a 10 billion plus company. And here's this little $20 million piece of business that was going to zero quickly. Yep. So anyway, we were able to resuscitate it, bring it back. And that was the beginning. This whole second chance, Jim, wasn't the original intent. It was really, like I said, helping those in most need. And where we were located, our largest nonprofit that houses homeless folks and those that have challenges, can be drug addiction, things of that nature. They had an employment arm called Jobs Plus, and they were providing us with what I call family members. We don't talk about employees, we call them family members. They were helping us, and year two, let's say, they asked us if we'd hire somebody with a felony. And I kind of asked, what's up? And it was, first of all, nobody hired anybody in 2009, 2010 with a felony. That has changed a bit, but they said we put people through a rigorous training. It's 12 weeks. And we're not going to provide hope if there is no hope. And so we're a small company, and I got with our team leaders and said, if we're really true to our mission, helping those in most need, we're being told these are the folks in most need. That's what we got to do. So we told them we would jump on board. We hired the first individual. He was so thankful, hardworking, dedicated, that the second person we need to hire, it was second chance. The third was second chance. By the time we got to the fourth, we could lose them, no call, no show. And at the time, I was really confused. When they leave, you can't connect and find out what's going on, right? They go AWOL. And another great gentleman who was running our largest mental health nonprofit in our community asked me if I ever thought about hiring a social worker. And I remember saying, I would if I knew what they did. And, I came out of corporate world. We had, human resources, HR. I wasn't familiar with the idea of a social worker. And he educated me, again, I'm so naive, that he said, Dan, it's bigger than a job. These folks have a lot of issues when you re-enter. It's overwhelming. You may have a job, but where am I going to live? How am I going to get there? So that was the beginning. That was the aha moment, being a business guy, that, okay, this is the secret sauce. So I was able to hire one of his people who's still with us after 14 years. I hired her for a day. That's all we could afford. And we were small. So it built up. I could hire her for 5 days. And, then it was full time. And we built out our social service team well before we brought in HR. I outsourced human resource and really built a social service team. And what their role is, because we hire anybody, I just look for them for two things: show up on time, be a team player. Anything else, we can coach you up. And all I want to know from our social service team when they're going through that onboarding process, I just want to know what weighs on their heart, their mind, their soul, that prevents them from being the best they can be. Because everybody's got greatness inside. It's one, they got to know it's inside, and it's pulling it out of them. But there's so many barriers. So that's what caused us over this course of 15 years to build 8 pillars. And Jim, I won't go into all of them. I'll hit on them because I could go on for an hour just on the support. But one is like building community, and that's coming together through once a month in the winter, where we share results of the business and ask people what's on their mind, any questions. Summertime, we grill out a couple times a month. We do all the children's backpacks, the back to school, and bring the families together. And our biggest event is Santa Visits Nehemiah, where we ask our children, what are your top 3 gifts? We go out and get those. Everybody adopts a few. We had 60 children this year. We turn our warehouse into a winter wonderland. It's just a really special thing.
Yeah.
That brings us all together, that we're truly family. We have Bengal Day, we got Reds Day, opening day. So there's always something bringing us all to share our lives together and uplift each other together.
Yeah.
Then we have affordable housing. We have Nehemiah Properties. We work with other nonprofits to give people where they want to live, what they can afford. We have a first-time home buying program where we match up to $5,000 so they can get into a home quickly. And we help them from a financial standpoint to get themselves ready to do that. We have transportation programs. We're on a bus line so we can help people the first few months. And then we work with a couple nonprofits to get people in their first, used car. Then we have legal support. That's where we don't work with a nonprofit because we have so many people. But there's a legal group, and the owner principal is herself Second Chance, and he gives us a discounted rate, and she's working with 20 or 30 people at any given time of our family members. And then we have 4 pillars. Once they get their feet underneath them, that really help them thrive, and that's spiritual wellness, health and wellness, financial wellness, and continued education. We're building out Nehemiah University where we can educate our family members. If you got a 4th grade education or you're in college, working with the University of Cincinnati to build that out. And they've built a year curriculum for our leaders, and one's evolving where it's leadership, it's communication, it's critical thinking. So we have those programs, and what makes it work, we work with 15 to 20 nonprofits in our community. We tell them we will be your major donor, but in return, you help our family members. So it's really it's really special. It's a true partnership.
Yeah.
What we do as a company, I didn't get into that. What is the what? What do we do? We license, as I said, brands from P&G.
Yep.
Now in 15 years, we do quite a bit with the Tide brand, the mega detergent brand. We do Tide wash machine cleaner. We do Tide laundry stain, which includes Tide pen and wipes. We do Tide single laundry and travel trial. In the Downy brand, we do Downy wrinkle releaser. Bounce brand, we do Bounce spray. In the baby toddler space, we do a lot with Dreft, and we have our own brand that we start with, Pampers Can Do. So we do all the manufacturing, R&D, marketing, selling, distribution, and what P&G gets out of this is a royalty payment. We have to, get their approval of the things they. We do. We can't go rogue on such powerful equities, but we have become their 4th largest licensed partner in the globe. Last year, for the 4th time, we became their licensing partner of the year. So we're proud of the relationship. We're not Nehemiah without Procter & Gamble. It's important to know. We are in this inner city core. That's true to our mission. When we built a new 182,000 square feet facility 7 years ago, people wanted to move us out, and I just said no. We're in the inner city. That's where we are. That's where we're going to stay. We do a lot for the community. We hire everybody within 3 or 4 zip codes of where we are. We have a big fundraiser in the summer, raise over $100,000 for 4 nonprofits in the area, in addition to the things we do for their fundraising. So it's building up our family members. We have 250 about that, 275, 170 are Second Chance. So predominantly hiring those coming out of incarceration. I say we promote from within. The guy running our entire manufacturing, making multiple 6 figures. He came in just taking boxes at the end of the production line, putting on a pallet. And as I said, we promote from within. So most of our folks are Second Chance. We try to get them where they want to go. As I mentioned, we're all about understanding their dreams. And as those change, we try to get them there. We had 2 people just last year graduate from University of Cincinnati. One's dream was to be in accounting. He is in our accounting department. The other lady was to move up the ranks in manufacturing. And she's now number 2 in command in manufacturing.
Wow.
So it's pretty special to see the power and the transformation of just giving people that opportunity. And we just open doors and provide support. It's their willingness and drive to be the best they can be. And it's, like I said, Jim, it's transformed my life. People know the moral case when you do this, because we're all called to make a difference. We're all called to treat each other with dignity and respect, but there's a business case that we promote. And that's when you treat people with love, dignity, and respect, you get 2x that in return. And what that means for a manufacturing company is low turnover. Our turnover rate's 15% in an industry. I've heard it, average 45. I've had companies I talked to 100. Costs us $3,500 to onboard somebody. If I lost 100 people, that's $350,000 a year. It's like, why don't you just put that money into their lives? And it's the gift that keeps on giving. So business case, moral case, Nehemiah case study is taught at both Stanford and Harvard. Been taught for 6 years. Harvard couldn't understand how you can make money and do what we do, because we are a for-profit company competing with global companies like SC Johnson and Reckitt Benckiser and Church and Dwight. And we can compete and we can win because we have unbelievable people that want to accomplish great things. So I know I was long.
And you kind of created maybe a little bit of an unintended advantage there, because of course nowadays in manufacturing everyone's struggling to get people. So I have to imagine there are people who may not have been so receptive to your message of this works, years ago, who would now think, okay, maybe we should give this a try. And if someone's coming along brand new to the concept, what kind of advice do you have for them just to get started?
Well, I would just say two things. I would say, just open your hearts, because the people that you may have in your organization right now, they may not have a felony, but they have challenges.
Oh, yeah.
If you got people with 30, 40, 50, $70,000 a year, let's face it, you and I come in every day with things weighing on our hearts, our minds, our soul, but we have the support system. Yeah. People that are making, that kind of money don't. I'd recommend social service for every company. But if you have a hard time retaining people, if you have a hard time finding people, just open your hearts to a broader net. People aren't going to be all in like us. I get that. But open a broader net. And in your community, nonprofits that are getting people job ready, they have people already that are in their organizations that have a felony conviction. It's as high as 1 in 3 in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. I said 1 of 5. I think it was Jamie Dimon said 1 of 3. So it's a big number. Everybody seems to know somebody. I have a large family. I got a half a dozen people that in my family that have felony convictions. So it's not foreign, and they're out there. So I just say, open your hearts to doing this. You got people that can help you. And these nonprofits, their social workers are working with these folks. Big companies have adopted it. In Cincinnati, I'm competing now because I started Beacon Hope Business Alliance 6 years ago to educate our business community to the power of hiring second chance. Our biggest one is Kroger. Everybody's heard of Kroger. They have 500,000 employees, and Rodney McMullen, who just recently left, but he was their chairman CEO, who came to our place maybe 8 years ago and was transformed by what he saw and heard from our family members in visiting, that he had a policy where they didn't hire people with felonies. He had one of the first plants of the Kroger company right around the corner for us, and they employ about 400, 500 people. They got involved. First 2 years, he had hired 43. After 2 years, he said we had 41, over 90% retention. Wow. Yep. And they became all in. So if, they have a website called New Beginnings. If you go to Kroger website, and they don't tell people about it. Nobody knows who's who in the organization. So it's just people buying off on helping those. And in a big company like that, they're helping a lot of people. You go in their grocery stores and somebody may have a disability, or so they have a history of doing that, particularly folks that are hiring a lot of people who have a wide range of jobs that, they can create that. And we also have small companies. I got one of our early adopters. He's out I'll say out in the hinterlands up north of Cincinnati, he couldn't find people. And he's got a state prison near him. And he put one of his production printing presses in there to get people job ready. And he adopted us. Our model, he's got social workers. And when I created Beacon of Hope Business Alliance, I got panel vans and got people to and from work, because that's always a challenge. So yeah, people have taken this up, and it's all in the spirit, like I said, of just broadening your net. It's hard to find, hardworking, dedicated people.
Right.
And people coming out of incarceration, they've spent their time. The state has said, you've served your time. People deserve that opportunity, and when you give it to them, it'll touch your heart. I mean, I'm a changed man from just seeing that and witnessing what it can do. I've heard people tell me, well, they don't change. People don't change. I go, that's a myth. You give somebody an opportunity. Nobody should be judged by their worst moment in life. And we all deserve that. So
let's go back to one of your early statements about when you first got started, you hired 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they started disappearing. And it was shortly after that you had that idea given to you about hiring a social worker.
right.
What were the dynamics that changed so that you're now in this place where you retain so many?
It was when the social workers, and they're used to this, people with mental health or whatever, of really digging deep, of understanding their challenges. And what they're able to do is break down those walls of trust. It's hard for somebody to come out where they don't trust anybody. And here you're trying to help them, and they're thinking, why the hell you want to help me? What's really going on here?
Yep.
And if you've ever met our folks, they're so heartwarming and easy to fuse any anxiety. And it's really just understanding where they are, like I said, what's weighing on your heart, your mind, your soul. What are the needs? What do you have? What's your biggest barriers? Yes, we can get you a job. What else you need?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's 1A, 1B, 1C. It's got to have transportation, but you also have a place to lay your head. And as we all know, the country has a challenge with affordable housing. Every single city has it, and we have it in Cincinnati too. So that's what they do. And you quickly do some of the legal things, and those walls are broken down very quickly. And as I said, we have great training on our production lines. They start out with the simple tasks, and then they work their way up as they prove themselves out. And we hire at a very competitive wage, and we provide 75% medical assistance, 401ks, and all this other support. So our starting wage is like $23, $24 an hour.
Wow.
And it moves up very, very quickly. We're generally promoting somebody within 6 months, and then it progresses. We created a number of levels so people can move up, take on responsibility. This is why Nehemiah University is so critical.
Mm-hmm.
When I have one-on-ones with our family members, everybody wants to get better.
Yep.
They want to get smarter, but when we give them tests, as I said, some people may have 4th or 5th grade education. They can't do some of the basic math or read some of the things, and they can't move on to that next level. So it's getting them through that and working with them. And our education program is customized to each individual. It's done on Nehemiah time. So we have bays of computers so they can do that. And ultimately put the university with everything built out with an app on their phone, or they can do things from home at their convenience. But that is our next big frontier, to really build out the university from basic things, basic mathematics, basic communication, reading, writing. You can't lead if you can't really communicate, both written or oral. So all those things are so critical in people's development and moving along the journey. So it's up to us to really get them where they want to go.
Yep. One other question for people just kind of new to it. One thing you hear is that fear factor of, geez, I can't take the liability. There's that present risk of violence or whatever? How do you counter that?
Well, I will say there's really no risk. I haven't had any violent situations. I can tell you the company I had before this had more violent. We employed 300 or 400, and I had some crazy things go on. Anytime you're in big manufacturing and you got people from all walks of life, and you're paying, 15, 20, 25, $30 an hour, and people have a lot of pressure. I think the value we have is we release that pressure. They're not coming in with that pressure. Whereas you could have another manufacturing and their stuff could be going on and they have it inside. Our folks are getting to our family members, or our social service team, I should say, because we have kiosks throughout the building so they can confidentially say, I have this problem. Can I come see you? Mm. And our social service team has to get back to them within 24 hours. And I think that's a key piece. You diffuse that. I've never had any issues really that to speak of that any other manufacturing plant. I would say ours is a hell of a lot safer place than I think of others because of the approach we have with our family members.
Right. Is it all of those pillars you mentioned earlier working together that kind of build that support structure where you don't have those kinds of problems?
Yeah, everybody knows, they're well documented of what all those are. I would say the biggest pillar is mental health. I bet that's 2/3 of the issues that our family members have. And, we work with 5 or 6 different agencies. And if somebody's got an issue and our folks feel like they need more help, what we'll do is find the right agency. And let's say they need more time. We will pay them if they got to stay overnight for a week or 2, let's say. We will pay for that support. We pay them while they're getting that support and they have their job back. We never want that to get in the way of them getting healthy, because we're all going to slip and fall. A lot of folks have triggers, and it's understanding those triggers too. I have promoted people faster than maybe they were ready and take that on, and it kind of pushes a trigger. And so we learn from that early on to make sure they're ready and walk that with them, so they don't feel so overwhelmed suddenly, which causes them to slip, start drinking or doing something. So,
yep. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Dan?
No, Jim, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. For anybody listening, first of all, you can reach out to me or Jim and get my contact information. We'd love to take you on a deeper journey. Come to Cincinnati if you'd like to, or we can do a video conference with our social service team if you want to learn more. It's not overwhelming. I think if you get into something like this, it'll transform your entire organization. I've seen that happen to companies who just dabbled in it and they got bigger into it, and they said, wow, our entire company sees that we care about everybody. And it can build a caring culture, which ultimately is a winning culture. Yep. So thank you again, Jim, and God bless.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you making time for us today. And Absolutely. As always, thanks to you in the audience. You're why we're here. And I hope this in particular was an especially meaningful episode, because I think this is just a super critical subject in so many ways. So I can't promise every episode is going to be as critical as what Dan brought us today, but everything we cover is at least a little critical. So tune back in. We're here every Tuesday and we'll have another show for you. Thanks again, Dan, everyone
Thank
out
you,
there.
Jim, and everybody out there. God bless. Bye-bye.
This is Jim Vinosky signing off for Manufacturing Talks. So long.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Watch for new episodes dropping every Tuesday. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.